You better. There it starting to go right now. Come on. Hey everybody, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Today's guests are probably the most requested guests that we've had requests for since the show began in March. When the pandemic began, people were sending suggestions for who to have on the show. And this dynamic duo of a mother-daughter team has been requested by just about everybody. So I am thrilled to connect with them today. They don't really need an introduction, but just in case you do need to know who the Esselstyn, they're like the plant-based family of royalty in the plant-based world. This is mother-daughter duo. They have a wonderful YouTube channel that you must check out. Their names are Ann and Jane Esselstyn. It's great to see you guys again.
Hi.
Hi.
You guys are adorable. Now, you look like you're wearing a scarf and a coat. So does that lead me to believe that it's maybe cold where you are?
I'm wearing another thing and another layer.
And probably a bra, so 4 layers. And
How cold is it where you are?
it's 46 and rainy.
It's wet and damp.
And wet and damp. And the thing about living in this part of the world is that I think October is the coldest month because you just don't want to turn your heat on yet because it's not winter, but it's cold
and
as
you don't
November.
want winter to come, and you don't want to close the windows or.
So we actually heat with a wood stove, and the wood stove's over there, and it's that whole part of the room is warm, and this part is not. So we have layers on.
How have you guys been keeping yourself busy during the pandemic? I trust you're all well, the whole family.
We're good.
The pandemic is still continuing, but for the first 5.5 months, there were 5 of us home in our house. We have 3 kids who are college aged, and they suddenly were all home and upon us, and they did not want to be here, and we did not want to have them here. I mean, we of course loved having them here, but we didn't want that to be what it was. So it was sort of our own little contained community because Ann and Essie are next door. So we sort of had an understanding that we'd all be able to be around each other like we are now with no masks on. And it was so busy having everyone home.
And of Jane's 3 children, 2 elected to take a gap year, and the youngest is starting her first year.
It was interesting.
College.
She was like, I graduated during COVID from high school, and I'm going to start college with COVID. This is just the culture that is part of who I am, part of my age. This is what's happened. And I thought that's such a, fortitude. Anyway, so we've been busy. We have our own things going on all the while. We were shooting our YouTube stuff. We occasionally, have a big shoot, and we have a cookbook project we're working on. So we have been working on on recipes. Speaking of which, I have a.
Oh my gosh! I just
made these this morning. These are flax millet oat biscuits, and they're actually good.
Yeah, they're good. I was just eating one.
She was eating one we were talking to a minute ago, and she couldn't swallow.
They sound great. Well, people are saying they love you. They love your recipes. They love your YouTube channel. Well, that is so great that you guys decided to start it because you guys are a hoot together.
Well, you know about hoots, AJ.
Well, now that I'm 60, I'm not as hooty. Anne, I wanted to show you. I don't remember if you remember you gave this to me. It's one of my most cherished possessions. It's gold-plated kale. It's a necklace.
Gold-plated kale girl.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
When will the new book come out? Is it a joint effort between you guys?
It's the 2 of us, and we just got we just got the contract, and so things aren't due until 2021. Probably comes out in 2022. The way things take forever in publishing, but it's exciting, and it's so nice to have something to be working on when you're really not able to leave home.
And Jane is the wizard of this book.
What does that mean? You're the wizard.
The wizard. I mean,
Were both of you guys make such amazing recipes, and you're such great chefs and cooks. Were you guys always good in the kitchen, or is this just since you went plant-based?
Horrible.
We're not good. We just do it.
Yeah.
We
Well,
The older I get, the worse my food is.
that's hilarious. But every recipe I've tried from your books has been delicious. So you're doing something right.
Well, I think someone said it to me the other day, and they said there's two kinds of, well, there's many different kinds of people, but looking at plant-based stuff, she said people can either eat to be fueling or to be fooding. And she said, we do a lot of just fueling, like, okay, we want to wake up and have some good food that's going to keep us quiet for a long time inside, but give us energy and not be inflammatory and not cause diseases. And then when we get hungry again, we're going to have another meal that's like that. And then, if you go out to dinner, oh, maybe we'll try something. This looks like it could be risky, or, oh dear, and something might have some oil on it. And, we ask for not, but it's a slippery slope if you go out to eat, unless you're really militant. And, anyway, so I'm just saying that some people
we never go out to eat.
We don't actually. What am I saying? but people who are foodie or fooding, they're so motivated by having food be so delicious and flavorful and maybe even rich and greasy and whatever. So we're not really foodie so much as we're
You're the
fueling.
great chef, AJ.
Oh, yeah, but honestly, guys, I eat very simply and repetitively, just sweet potatoes and broccoli. I really rarely make anybody's recipes, even my own. And, my friend John Pierre has a saying, people are either fueling themselves or fooling themselves.
Oh, fooling.
Yeah, but I agree. Some people live to eat. Some people eat to live.
I like that, fooling or
They're either fueling themselves or they're fooling.
I can't talk.
AJ, do you eat 3 times a day, or
guys, I eat 2 times a day, but I've always eaten 2 times a day. I don't ever remember eating breakfast. I never wake up hungry. So my first meal is usually right after this show at noon, and I try to get the second meal between 5 and 6. And it's always been that way. If I was hungry in the morning, I'd eat, though.
I hear you. I'm not always hungry in the morning. It takes me a while to get that engine going. My other engines are going, so it's not like I'm waiting to get energy. Wake up, yoga, this, that, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I'm never hungry. I could go until 4, but
Yeah.
I make myself eat breakfast. I think it's key.
Yeah, I do. A lot of the doctors that I interview say that, and it's just so hard to force myself to eat when I'm not hungry.
A little nauseous.
Yeah, and also I'm exercising in the morning. Right before I joined you, I was spinning for an hour, so I like to do that. Are you guys? You guys are pretty avid exercisers in the whole Esselstyn family, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But COVID has wrecked my schedule.
Oh yeah, our class, she used to go to classes every day at the JCC.
So now I will run a little bit and do 25 jumping jacks, and then run and do 25 jumping jacks. And then I get tired.
Yeah, I run every day, and I do yoga, but we used to have great classes that we'd go to at the JCC.
Were you guys, because obviously we know that your dad and Ann's husband, was an Olympic gold medal winner, but did you guys always exercise even before you were plant-based? Was that something that was just always modeled, that this is something you do, is you work out every day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we all grew up swimming. Like, I swam for University of Michigan.
She went to the Olympic trials as a 14-year-old.
Yeah, at age 14, I was over in your neck of the woods in Irvine. We had Olympic trials in 1980 when Carter boycotted the Olympics. And so yeah, my brothers and I have always sort of swum on a national level. So exercise has been a part of our circadian rhythm, and more than, I'd say that's been the biggest constant, because we weren't plant. I was vegetarian by the time I was a teenager, but exercise has been our biggest through line for all of us.
And so you didn't fight it. You just naturally did it and liked it. Because I'm finding that even when people become plant-based and they start eating healthier, if they didn't have that lifelong habit of exercise, it's something that it seems harder for them to do that than to eat plants.
Just walk.
Yeah, walking's a great thing to do.
Yeah. Some of the people watching said, I guess you had something called a kitchen rescue. Maybe you had a program over the weekend. They're saying it was fabulous.
Oh, that's so nice. Yes, thank you, whoever said that. We ripped Engine 2 is now calling themselves Plant Strong, and we have to catch up with that. I keep calling it Engine 2. But they had a kitchen rescue a because it's sort of a week, half weekend sort of thing. And we did a lot of cooking. We sort of did a Thanksgiving, this is what we would eat at Thanksgiving sort of thing, and how to make a lot of sauces and salsas and spreads. And but what else did we do? Oh, we had a big pizza night. Everyone made different pizzas, and batch cooking. So that's some things that we had how to build a bowl.
What are you guys having for Thanksgiving?
The what every plant-based person
I'll
has.
tell you what I'm having. It's Essie and me alone.
No.
Yes, because
We have to pick up our kids at college, our kid at college, so we're not going to be around.
So what I've done is I have frozen a little jar of Brian's stuffing. Brian, Jane's husband's a great cook.
You froze some of it?
I froze some of it. So we'll have
No.
Brian's stuffing
And gravy,
and gravy.
mommy's mushroom gravy, which is astounding, and cranberry salsa. And you have to have that. Cranberry salsa and mashed potatoes. You love mashed potatoes. And we will have
Broccoli. all those little things.
broccoli and just.
What do you have,
What do
AJ?
you have? Sweet
I
potatoes.
think, well, you know what I'm going to make? I make this recipe from my third book, which just came out, and they're called Holiday Sweet Potato Stacks. And I take two kinds of sweet potatoes, the Hannah Yams and the orange, or you can take a sweet potato and a Yukon Gold. It doesn't matter, but you make two kinds of mashed potatoes, and then you put cranberry relish in the middle. I have this little tool called the Stackable Gourmet, so it's really, really pretty, and that's what we're going to have.
Oh my gosh.
Wait.
Describe that again. You have one.
So it's
You have to mash.
I would send you the tool, but they're out of, like, they don't make them anymore. But what you can do is you can take a can, like any kind of can, a can of beans, and then when you're done with it, open the other end. So now you have, a can. And so what you do is you take it's two kinds of potatoes. It doesn't matter, but I like it different colors. So I'll just roast orange sweet potatoes and mash them over here. I don't add anything to them. And then I'll either do the same thing with Hannah Yams, or I'll do Yukon Gold. So now I have two different colors. And I have this little tool, or you can use a can. So you put one layer of the potatoes, then you put a layer of the cranberry sauce, and then the second layer of potato, and then you lift up the little tool or the can, and you have these beautiful stacks. And that's what we're having, because it's my favorite.
What makes them stay as a stack?
Well, the potato is thick enough, so I'm not really adding like a lot of liquid to my mashed potatoes. So it just does stay. It really does. I have a picture somewhere.
Yeah, Japanese sweet potatoes, which are so good, and they're white, and you could use purple. You could use all three colors of the sweet
Yeah,
potato.
you could do three. Actually, it would be beautiful. That's a great idea to do three colors, but it's really pretty, and it's really delicious too. And I have different relish recipes. I use sometimes ginger, sometimes cherry, but it's so delicious, and it looks pretty. So
Love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And the little-
So
and the-
people are asking if you guys have any advice for hot flashes.
Talking about mashed potatoes. Well,
Eat plant-based.
eat plant-based. I don't know how scientific or whatever we want to get about this, but what makes us, it's so natural to go into puberty, and it's so natural to go into menopause. I mean, you don't need to be on medication for that stuff. It actually is how our body's wired. And I'm a middle school sex ed teacher. So the last thing I would tell any of my students in, between 4th and 8th grade, who I'm talking to, is that, you need to have medication. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe you're going to have bad acne, or you're going to use a little this, or, whatever, but it's just so normal. So menopause, same thing. And people have different kinds of symptoms sometimes with menopause, and sometimes they don't. And what is the conductor of all that is our own body's estrogen levels. And so to have our brain and our ovaries sort of downgrade the amount of estrogen we're making is natural. But what happens sometimes is those of us who are carrying some extra body weight in adipose tissue, that also is a producer of some estrogens that can really make us be sort of wacky and be sending off all kinds of signals. And I have no idea what estrogen says, but it can be this cascade of events that can result in a hot flash. Some people, I have another thought. Where did it go?
Are you saying ideal weight?
So, and also eating a high fat diet of animal proteins, because all animal flesh, every cell in our body is made up of cholesterol and saturated fat. But every like part of a chicken wing or a bone or a turkey or a corned beef or any kind of dairy, there's also estrogen in that bit and that part flesh and that liquid in that egg. So there's estrogen in our food that also can keep things going. So if if you stop eating animals, you stop eating any sort of dietary cholesterol or hormones, and you're just going to run your own hormones. And as you get sort of leaner and meaner, you'll have less excess sort of weight concerns making estrogen. And I mean, it's so good to be, you know, have some frosting on your body. The fat is fine. It's healthy to have a nice little layer, but you know what I'm talking about when it's like, it's a concern for your health. It can be insidious. And I'm not at all putting any shame out there about anyone's body, but that could be part of what's going on with hot flashes.
Yeah, and when I interviewed Dr. Linda Carney, she said that people that are going through this, alcohol and caffeine are not your friend.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Michael says, how did you guys pick the theme song for your show? They love the intro.
Wait, when we carry the fork, Michael?
I think that's what he means. Yeah.
How funny. As you know, when you have a YouTube, you cannot play music that is from like, you know, Stevie Wonder or whatever. You have to get permission. So we went to some free music site and just listened to like 1.5 million different little snippets. And this one, I like the part when it goes boom, 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 boom. It has a little drum in the middle of it. And I thought, I like that one. So that's why.
But the first one Jane had was the
our
best.
Our very first one was so good. And then that's right. Our first free music we got, Michael, this is since you're so curious. Thank you. We got it on the free music site, but then in the middle of, I don't know, probably around our 40th recipe or 50th recipe, because we only have 100 up so far. We got this from YouTube. Your music is no longer, we're violating copyright. And we were like, no, we're not. How do you think we got it? Oh my God. So we had to like change middle and get a new theme song, which felt bad.
Wow. Well,
looking at my biscuit.
I know you're making everybody hungry. Everybody's saying they want that biscuit recipe right now. Lori said, this may be too personal to ask, but what are your feelings about HRT?
Jane, I don't. Would you stop drinking and answer?
Mom just said, would you stop drinking and answer?
I heard that. She's adorable. Jane, and you always speak your mind. That's what I love about you.
So, hormone replacement. Sorry, I should put my hair back. Sorry, does it look funny?
Shane.
Sorry, I was pulling. Hormone replacement therapy is. We are not doctors, and I'm a nurse, but I'm not a nurse practitioner. I'm not prescribing, and I don't diagnose. But hormone replacement therapy has sort of run its course in America. There are some people who obviously need to have it for certain reasons, and those are more of outliers. And I definitely would talk to your doctor, your GYN, or your nurse, or your family doc about this, because if you're having a really rough go of it, and your whole food plant-based, you're not eating any animals estrogen in egg, milk, or a flesh form, then check it out. But hormone replacement therapy is kind of scary because you do not want to have, estrogen makes things grow. It makes things grow, it makes things grow, and everything grows. When you're pregnant, your hair's thick, your moles grow, your moles turn into like nipples. Everything is just growing and growing this baby. So you just don't want to have that in your body now. So hormone replacement therapy was really taken off the market. Like I know you never were.
I know the years that my husband worked with women with breast cancer, he never recommended that, even when it was being promoted.
So a breast cancer surgeon never recommending it. He was seeing the bad after effects of it. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, that is interesting. Sharon wants to know, what's your go-to recipe? Like, especially when you guys are busy, do you have like me, it's just sweet potatoes and broccoli. It's really easy. I microwave the broccoli, the sweet potatoes already cooked. What's your go-to meals?
Wait, AJ, which is your favorite sweet potato?
Believe it or not, it's the Hannah yam, or sometimes it's called the Jersey yam or the white sweet potato, because it's a little bit less sweet. The Japanese sometimes are a little too sweet for me.
The Hannah yam?
Yeah, Hannah yam. They're kind of a golden, they almost look like a Yukon Gold, but they're shaped like the traditional sweet potato. And here they're called Hannah. Some places they're called Jersey or white sweet potatoes. And they're creamy and they're not quite as sweet as the Japanese.
And they're white inside.
They're white inside.
Is this a Hannah?
It's probably like the Hannah if it's white inside and kind of creamy.
No, the New Jersey.
Oh, this is a
that's
the orange one. The orange one is okay. I call that the garnet, but it's not my very favorite.
I like the garnet.
I like garnet's color, and it's sweet and sweetening. Some of them are really sweet.
Yeah.
One of my favorite recipes is to mix the Yukon Gold and the Japanese sweet potato together. It's great.
Wait, no, your go-to recipe? What's your go-to?
Rice and beans.
Yeah.
Rice and beans.
With mango.
Rice and beans, mango for you. My go-to. You know what I go to? This is how go-to it is. Oh my God. Brown rice for sure. I like short grain brown rice. My husband likes long grain brown rice. It's like we're in a divided household, but we make it work. And I love this teriyaki recipe that we have in the Engine 2 cookbook, and it's a teriyaki tofu. And we make it a lot of times for demos and stuff. And the other day we did a demo. I think it was 36 hours ago. We did and you know this, AJ, you have to make a dish. So in order to show how it looks at the end, you have to make it ahead of time, and then you got to make it during the thing. And then what do you do with the thing that you made anyway? So we made this, cut up tofu, made the teriyaki sauce, put it on there. And I said, Mommy, open the oven and take the cooked one out. I'm putting this one in. So she turned around and she pulled that out. I put it in. And just about 30 minutes ago, when I was turning on the oven to bake these, I was like, God, oven smells like it's cooking something. What's going on? And it was preheating, and I was taking a long time to make the biscuits. I pull out, there's the teriyaki tofu from 36 hours ago.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I mean, I had done that so many times. But anyway, I love that because our kids love that, and we would make it constantly. And
nice.
Anyway, and it was kind of boring.
Jean, are you still teaching your sex ed classes right now online? Is your school, are you doing that?
I teach it very, very there's not even a word for how part-time I teach it. I just like surgically insert it into the school schedule when the kids are on the, sort of the health unit about the body and not talking about tobacco or drugs or bullying or cyber stuff. So I have not gotten the call for when it's going to be this year yet. So I'm not doing it right now. But I do.
You're teaching other things online.
No, my sex ed, I will go to the school if they're live, and I'll do it virtually if they're virtual.
Yeah. And what age are the students that are getting the sex education lecture?
Well, school where I work right now a little bit is they have me talk to the fourth graders. I just talk with them light and tight, but then get more into it with the 6th, 7th, 8th graders. And in 8th grade, you're pretty much talking. The internet has leveled the playing field.
One day, not too long ago, Jane was doing some kind of judging an event, and some ex-student.
Oh, I was at a food event at a college. It was a college cooking show, like an Iron Chef at a college.
Describe what happened.
She's teeing this up for me.
Yeah.
No, I was a judge at an Iron Chef, like collegiate cooking, like as if college kids can cook. I mean, they've from the dorm room to like this corporate kitchen or whatever. Anyway, so I was one of the judges, and everyone's like saying Jane, Jane, and like Jane, I had to choose the 2 ingredients. Like if you had to choose 2 ingredients that the contest had to include in every breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert, and you had to taste all 6 teams' breakfast, lunch, dinners, and desserts. What 2 ingredients would you want to include?
Well, I'd probably pick oats for one of them.
Okay.
Oats or rice, some kind of grain for sure. Boy, if you like,
It's hard.
yeah, it's really hard.
When they told me this, I was like, well, what did the previous person do? And they're like, oh, the previous person chose maraschino cherries and licorice. And I was like, okay, I can't go wrong then. So I don't really care. Maraschino cherries and licorice.
That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Anyway, so I chose gooseberries and bok choy. I don't know why, but so I was sitting there like on like my fourth round of eating a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or dessert with gooseberries and bok choy, trying to have what other descriptors can you come up with to describe what you're eating. And anyway, and all of a sudden this person walked up to me and he says, and he's not wearing like a team t-shirt. Doesn't look like the chefs. They're all like kind of tidy and neat and looking appealing, like they want to be appealing. This guy's like in a grout fit, this gray college kid outfit, scruffy, 6'7", doesn't even fit in his own sweatpants. He's like, Miss Esselstyn. And I was like, yeah, hi, Jane, wait, Miss Esselstyn? He's like, want to let you know, you saved my life in 8th grade in sex ed. And I was like, you've gone through puberty. Just tell me who you are or what's going on. He told me his name. I remembered the kid. He had the best questions in sex ed. And he was just like, I want to say thanks. I saw your picture out front. And he just loped out the door. And I was like, that made my day. That made my day. The other chefs were like, what was that? What was that? Anyway, so it was great just to have, this sex ed part of my life come right in the middle of this.
I would love to see your talk, because the talk you give, that it's not to children, but that talk you give, I can't think of the name of it, but it's fantastic.
The benefits of plant-based eating above and below the belt.
Right. I remember I had sex ed when I was in 6th grade. I was 10 years old, and all it did was confuse me even more. I remember that the professor, his name was Lewis, and I couldn't understand what he was talking about. Literally, I was more confused, and he kept talking about erections, and it's like he never really explained what it was, other than that you had to have one in order to have sex. And I said, well, why can't you do it without one? He goes, and this is all I remember. He said, well, that would be like putting a piece of wet spaghetti through a keyhole. That is all I remember.
Oh.
Literally all I remember from sex ed. And that's that. So that's what I thought sex was, a keyhole and spaghetti, because he didn't explain. Anyway.
Can help that.
All right. So Marlene says, my doctor teaches your principles. He says I can have nuts, but no nut butter. Is there a difference? He says nut butter is why my blood pressure and sugars won't go down completely.
That's interesting. I mean, it's like the difference between raisins and grapes. Well,
maybe. I mean, is she cracking open her own nuts and having to pick them out one by one, like we used to have to do at Christmas time or holidays? Probably not. But that's interesting, because if her blood sugar is the issue and her blood pressure, like she might be eating salted oiled nuts, which I'd say is worse than eating like an almond, but like a nut butter. But blood, if she's got high sugars, again, this is, I'm not looking at your chart in front of me. I'm not looking at you. I don't know anything about this person's question. Our dog is scratching at the door, pardon me. Anyway, part of the reason why people have high numbers is due to, it's not the sugar in their diet at all. It has to do with the openness of their receptors to receive the insulin, which carries the sugar out of their blood. And sometimes that nut butter can just clog up, like block that receptor. If this is a receptor, it just like blocks it. So she can't drop off the sugar, and the sugar stays in her blood. Sugar's not the problem. It's the fat that's blocking her receptor. So stop eating nuts altogether for a while, check those numbers out. And I think it might be different. I'm saying no nuts, no nut butter, if you have those high sugar numbers. But I mean, I know I've got 3 college athletes in our household, and my husband is an ultra athlete, and I run every day and do my yoga, but we definitely have nuts in our house, and I can't find any now. But we have some nuts. We eat nuts, but we not like oiled and salted nuts. We have walnuts, and got some peanut butter, definitely.
But you don't base your meals on nuts.
Oh God, no. It's, I mean, no.
I definitely don't base
No,
our
not at
meals
all.
because
Is that what
my
people are thinking?
problem,
No.
I like nuts so much that I just eat them. So if I don't have them in the house because they call me. I have walnuts because, but
We have
that's it.
No, we don't base a meal on, I don't even know what a meal of nuts would look like. I mean, I would have, let's say, okay, I'll talk about nuts for a second. I would have maybe like a big meal of rice and some beans and vegetables and on top of a bed of greens, and then maybe drizzle some sauce made of mostly water and little bit of garlic and tamari with some walnuts. So it like ground up in it. So it's that few nuts are drizzled with water amongst all of our dinner. So when I say nuts, I mean like that. Not even a garnish, but like as a just a wee bit of something.
Charlie, I mean, AJ, you don't eat any nuts.
I have not eaten any nuts since January 1st, 2012, or seeds or avocado. And you know what? I haven't dropped dead. Everybody worries about me about that. So I have a test every year called the fatty acid profile. And I have a lifestyle medicine doctor, and the levels are not just good, but they're high because guess what I eat that has my omega-3 every day? Greens.
What
Yeah.
about nutrition, not nutritional yeast? What am I talking about? Chia seeds or flax?
I use chia seeds in my salad dressing recipes because it's a thickener, but I don't eat them because I feel like I have to. So I don't really include it. No. And I get bashed a lot for it, like that I'm doing something dangerous and crazy, and that low fat is dangerous. And now what's even worse is it's not just the controversy with the plant-based doctors on nuts, but I don't know if you guys know, there's like a whole slew of younger plant-based doctors that are now saying oil is good, oil is necessary for heart health and brain health, and it's so sad to they're disrespecting our Essie and Dr. Ornish, saying they're old, they don't read the research, and it's terrible, I think, what they're doing. And I don't know if they're really even right. I don't think they are, but I'm not a doctor. But
basic human beings who are just existing, and originally they didn't have oil.
Oh, talking cave people.
They might, yeah. I mean, whatever. I mean, anyway.
we don't.
Yeah, I mean, how many nuts did our ancestors really eat? I was talking to Dr. Lyle about that because he did a whole video about how they really aren't necessary. Eat them if you like them, but not because you have to.
And growing up, we only had nuts with a nutcracker. I have got the greatest nutcracker. It's sort of, remember that?
It was a woman, and her leg would open up, and you put a nut in there, and you go.
But I mean, that's when we had nuts with a nutcracker.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, exactly. You're right. And by the you gave up because it was so labor intensive. Jordan says, "How can I eat more greens?"
Easy.
Just do it. I know it sounds awful, but like having a breakfast.
One of the things, I have a breakfast that I put greens in, kale in, but my Essie's breakfast is oats, berries, and I cook a whole wok full of greens, and he eats some of those, and then we eat them later in the day. But if you're making pasta, put a whole hunk of kale in, chop it up, cook it there. If you're making pizza,
put greens in,
cook kale
or any kind of greens,
bite-sized pieces or any greens, and put it and mix it with the pasta sauce and spread it on the pizza.
So often when I have my parents for dinner, I set the table and I put the bowls out, and I always just throw it, from a big bag of spring greens, just throw everyone's bowl, just like fill it with that, because whatever we're going to eat is going to go on top of that. And my dad comes to the door. He's all business. He comes in, sits down with his hand. He'll just like sit there like some sort of really focused, intelligent primate in the tree, just sort of, and he'll just eat the greens. I'm like, he's got a fork right there, and he could wait for the meal with everyone else, but he just eats them all. So he's going to eat those, and then he'll also eat the greens that are, I've cooked with dinner. But it's, if you just start to eat more greens, I know it's like starting anything, but just do it. And you're going to be imperfect. You're going to be totally flail some days and not do it, but just start. And before you know it, this whole process goes like this, and you've made progress. And
you know what I would say is start when people tell me they hate vegetables, just like, because I used to say this to John Pierre, I hate exercise. So we say, well, do the exercise you hate the least. I would say eat the one you hate the least. And, they vary in how bitter they are. So if somebody hates kale, like, curly kale or lacinato kale, baby kale is much milder. Beet greens, you can't hate beet greens. They're delicious. They're mild. Spinach. So maybe start with one that's not as intense at first.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think Jane's family, every night, as long as I can remember, had broccoli, because that's the one vegetable all her children would eat. So they all grew up broccoli every single night. But
every night, freakish.
But they would add other things. And so now they eat most all vegetables, but they did the broccoli. So they always got a vegetable.
Oh, I love broccoli. That's always my favorite. I don't know why. That was the only vegetable I'd eat, even when I didn't eat vegetables. There's something about broccoli I just like it.
Yeah, no, it's got a great structure.
You don't need anything on it. You can just eat it.
Yeah.
My mom says, she used to pretend it was like trees when I was little. She was, it's the only vegetable that you can eat the stem, the leaves, and the stalk. And I remember random things. This is a really fun question from Gina. Ann, how did you and Essie meet?
We met really through our fathers, who were both doctors. And in fact, my husband, Essie's father.
Big Essie, we call him.
Essie's father was at Yale Medical School. And my husband was starting, my father was at Yale as a freshman, and he was playing freshman football. And Essie's father at part-time would come and coach the freshman football team as he was in medical school. And he met my father then. So when Essie my husband, was coming out to Cleveland to go to medical school, his father told him to look up Barney Kreil, my father,
who was an old football player, of his.
And then that's how we met.
And doctor.
Through our fathers.
How long have you guys been married?
How long have you been married?
59 years.
Is the 60th this year or next year?
This year.
The 2021.
When is it?
June. July. Well, it's sometime in the summer.
You've been married as long as I've been alive. That's incredible.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
That is something. Wow. So, people are asking about the whole family, and we know all the superstars, and we know Jane, we know Rip, but you have 2 other kids. Who are they? What do they do? And do they eat like everybody else?
Well, they all, all 4 kids, all 10 grandchildren. And it's amazing.
And their names are Ted and Zeb, and they actually work together. They work with big plants. They work with wood. And
where do they live? We never can they come in a video sometime? We never see them.
Look up City Bench, City-Bench. And it's the most beautiful wood furniture you've ever seen. And they take down, use city trees that they would otherwise just
turn into mulch or wood chips, but they take them and make them, their tagline is furniture from the urban forest. And so if they have a town Christmas tree in the middle of the town, just is there for a few weeks, and then it goes taken off made into wood chips or mulch, they'll say, wait, we'll try some of these planks, and we'll make a table, a bench, a sideboard, salad tongs. We don't care what you want. Just tell us what you want. And because they can mill it, dry it, and then work with it. They got a bunch
and can people order their stuff online?
Oh yeah.
Well, maybe they could be on the show, because that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, well, try City Bench, Ted Esselstyn.
Okay, I will. Thank you. See, I did not know that. That's amazing. So we have a nice comment. I love you, Ann and Jane. You inspired me to go plant-based at 50. I'm trying to inspire the kids to do the same.
Well, what's her
Thank
name?
you.
What's her name?
Her name is Audio Munn, Audiomun. Not everybody uses their real name. You know, sometimes it's just.
What's so important for her and everybody to know is that when you don't realize that people are watching you and you can make a difference for people, what you're doing. I mean, even if, say, in your family, your kids aren't paying any attention, but suddenly they hit 39 or 40 and they suddenly are told they need statins or something's going on, and they know there is another answer.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Are you guys, I know that Ann, you and Essie did a program, I think it was once a month. Are you doing that virtually during the pandemic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's good to know, because people, you know, I've told a lot of people about that's great. So, oh, you know who I just had on the show, I think it was last week, was, you know, Dr. Roizen.
Mike Roizen.
Yeah, he's fun. Yeah, he loves your food, he said.
He is so much fun. He is a character.
Yeah.
Total character.
And you should see his office. It is crazy. It has, everything is stacked high.
It's like a Dr.
everywhere.
Seuss book. Stacks and piles.
Well, you know, apparently he has a second house really close to me. He hasn't come yet because of the pandemic, but I'd love to, if he does, I'd love to invite him over for dinner. I'll cook something from your book.
No, from your book.
Okay, well, but I mean, if he says he loves Ann's food, so yeah.
He's just being nice.
Saying that. You do.
Okay.
He eats. Oh, one of the grandchildren calling.
You can take it if you like. So Jane, I don't know if you can answer this because it is a medical question, but maybe you have some advice from Claudia. Any advice on iron deficiency? My blood test just showed I'm very anemic. I started iron tablets, but they don't agree with me. Any advice?
Well, that's a great question. And we get that quite a bit, especially for women who are in their fertile years and, you know, you're still having your cycles, you know, losing blood every month it's a big deal. So yes, having two daughters and, you know, looking out for myself, I always try to have some sort of form of food that has vitamin C in it with our meal, not like after or before, but with. So I put, you know, oranges in the salad. I put lemon juice in the dressings. I put lime on the black beans, like, you know, just getting some vitamin C in the food you're eating helps mobilize iron in your blood. So that's something we try to focus on. And if it still is an issue, I mean, if you feel fatigued, that's something to be aware of. I have on paper always been anemic, but I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. I have energy coming out of my ears every day. And that's my level. Like whoever set the level, you know, some people don't fit in that range, but they actually are within normal limits of their behavior and their pathology, if you will. But so if you don't feel well and you think it's the iron situation, I would try seeing if you could go on something called SLO, F-E, S-L-O, capital F-E, like ferrous iron, like, you know, Ferris wheel is called a Ferris wheel because it's made of iron, which is iron. Anyway, so SLO, F-E, is a slower release of iron. And so you don't get constipated and you don't get some of the side effects that I think she may have been saying didn't agree with her. But again, I'm not prescribing, I'm not diagnosing. This is my advice as an RN. And
Nice.
someone who's taken SLO FE during her pregnancies.
Thank you. Excuse me. Tina Louise says, oh, I feel like I have to sneeze. Is it, excuse me, wow. Is it true that once a year during Christmas, Dr. Essie eats a peanut butter cup? And that's his once a year non-compliant treat.
Wow.
We used to try to do that to him. Like we as the kids and then the grandchildren love trying to, like, you know, everyone has a stocking on their seat on Christmas morning, and his stocking was flooded with, you know, like 20 Reese's cups because everyone wanted to have a.
But I'll
give
never
him something.
forget the day
But-
after that when we were having a meal and whenever it was New Year's, whatever the day was, he got it out to eat it. And he ate his thing and he didn't offer any to anybody else. And everybody was so mad.
This was years ago, but actually in the last few years, I have found that he sort of leaves the Reese's kind of where they are, and then before you know it, his grandchildren have taken them away and eaten them and things. But he used to have that like inoculation once a year, but he hasn't done it. He hasn't fallen for it lately.
That's great. Susie says, what brand of DHA EPA do you use? They said Dr. Essie said he has one without oil.
I don't take fish oil, not fish oil. I don't take that omega-3s stuff like you, AJ. Do you take that stuff?
I don't.
Best form is to get it in your greens and your
There
food.
is one, if you look, I think that's made.
My dad does not do the shopping or the supplement
I
purchasing,
tell you
so
what,
he's not
it's
the one to
on the
ask
shelf.
for.
It's on the shelf on the far left, up about this level.
And you can't think of the name of
And I
it.
have no idea what it is, but
Do you guys take it?
No,
They
I don't take it. But
So
I
they don't take it. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe he just mentioned that there is one without oil.
recommend it to certain people and you can get it. I mean, if you go to say Whole Foods and ask for without oil.
Jesse wants to know if you guys have a large garden.
Yes, we both do.
And I wouldn't say it's large.
No,
I mean, it's. I mean,
My
I've
garden-
got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 raised beds, and they're all probably 8 by 4. Maybe that's big. I don't know.
and I only have 2, but my garden is spectacular up until about July. And then it gets horrible and it gets all eaten by bugs.
And
Then
then
it
it
gets
becomes
dead
then it
again.
gets spectacular right around now when it's just kale. Only the kale is versus the kale is like a palm tree now. It's so tall and my stalk of my kale is about this big round now, and it's got these like high lacinato leaves. Just looks just like a palm tree.
Do you have a garden?
Do you
Oh, I don't. And it's probably too hot here really to grow much. I live in the desert. But we do have succulents, so it's really pretty.
Tomatoes love the heat.
Yeah. Well, I'll think about it. But that I know when you grow it yourself, it does taste so much better. And then there's no packaging as well.
Eat it
Speaking
off
of
the vine when it's still.
Oh, that's the best to have the little. What are those?
Little cherry tomatoes?
No, yeah, well, the little cherry tomatoes. Yukon, no.
gold.
What are they called?
Golden. Oh my
Anyway.
God. Sun gold.
Sun gold. The little sun golds right off the off the branch are so sun warmed and delicious.
Yeah, nothing like growing your own. But speaking of food you buy in the store, several people are mentioning that they're having trouble finding the Engine 2 products. Are they no longer available?
Yes, they are available, but you have to go online because for the first 10 years, Whole Foods asked Rip to create products with no meat, no oil, and no dairy, and he did. And he
exclusively for them.
And Whole Foods owned that for 10 years. They no longer own it. And so Rip has now got it. So you can go online and get some of them, and they have more and more coming that are going to be fantastic. Because things like Rip's Burgers, that was one of, you asked about go-to meals. That was a go-to meal for us.
Mm-hmm.
Rip's Burger. Loved that. And why I liked it was, guess how you cooked it? Put it in the toaster. I mean, it doesn't drip. It was great. But so you can get his cereal, you can get his granola, you can get pizza crust.
No,
But in the stores, you can still get the vegetable broth, which is the
and
only
they're
one
coming
with no salt.
and they're coming out with 3 broths and 3 soups. A new line of them coming out pretty soon. I don't want to say a date because I don't know for sure, but I talked to him yesterday about it.
Oh, that's fantastic. So this next question from Audrey, I'm sure you guys hear often. My cholesterol is 258. I am thin and do not eat any oil. Not sure why this is. Any suggestions?
Is she plant-based?
I'm guessing she is. Audrey, if you're still watching, maybe you can type if you are plant-based.
Or does she have oats? She should eat oats for breakfast. They help lower your cholesterol.
Because we all have a different, we all like our energy level, like our patience level, like any level of in our bodies. The amount of earwax we make, everybody varies in what they make for whatever reason. So even the thinness doesn't matter or thickness doesn't matter, but you just make a certain level or amount of cholesterol in your own liver.
And that may just be a familial thing in her family, but
I mean,
she should work with her doctor.
Well, she could take your program too, right? Your once a month program and work with Essie, right? That's still a possibility.
Her takeaway would be don't veer from eating no meat, no dairy, no added oil, and keep the minimal salt, minimal sweet, keep it down and see what happens. I mean, really can be compliant and see if you can get that to change, because if you're not eating any extra cholesterol or eating, greasy, meaty, cheesy stuff, your own liver is what makes your cholesterol. So the cholesterol that's in your body, in your blood, is your own, and you're making it for some reason. And some people, and my dad doesn't care about cholesterol level, how high, how whatever they are. Big if, don't you ever take that quote from me, anyone, I'll deny it. He won't care about the cholesterol level if you don't have inflamed vessels. What causes inflammation of those endothelial cells? Standard American diet. Any amount of dairy, any amount of meat, any amount of oil. Does that sound like him?
I loved it. Thank you. So people are asking what supplements you guys take and recommend. Mickey says, I heard that iodine deficiency is a source of many hormonal issues. Would you recommend an iodine supplement? Oh, you're saying 0, huh? We couldn't see it because you have to talk while you do it.
Well, just because.
Sorry.
I wouldn't. I just do.
I take B12 when I remember, which is, clustered. I'll remember it 3 days in a row, and then I'll forget it for 3 weeks, and then I'll take it 6 days in a row, and then I'll forget it for 2 months.
I love my B12 because it's cherry flavored and it's just such a treat.
So B12 we take when it's not summer, since we live in a non-desert environment like the desert shrike that is known as AJ. We live in Cleveland where there's no sun, and probably roughly October to April, we would take a vitamin D3, not too much of it, but just some of it. And that's it. Iodine was your question though. Iodine is, that's a tricky one, especially if people have thyroid stuff going on, because you do want to have iodine. Our bodies evolved with it because it's in the ground. It's in our world. There's a certain part of China where there's some heart disease called, I don't know the name of it, but there's a certain part of China that doesn't have this mineral in the soil, or some element in the soil, or some molecule, and they all have this heart disease. I think it starts with an M. I can't remember from nursing school. But anyway, if we don't have iodine in our diet because we're not eating or adding even a little bit of salt to anything, or we're not getting food that is fortified, then that can be an issue. So sometimes adding just a little bit of salt, because all you need is a little trace amount. That would be good if you're having troubles with that.
Don't have any salt in our house.
Yeah, we don't have salt. I actually have one of those, when it rains, it pours, Morton salt. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
And it's iodized, and it is so old. It has Easter egg dye colors on it from when I would use it to dye Easter eggs when the kids were little, just for Easter egg hunts, like as if we ate the eggs and stuff. But we've had this, I actually have it right here. I had this pint of it forever. Do I still have it? Oh. You can see people can't see us, or can they see us?
Oh yeah, they can see it.
There's the Easter egg dye from when my kids are all 20, 22, 19. So it's when they were like little kids. So it's not like it's used, but it's iodized, because I would
put
use
salt when you make Easter eggs? I can't.
It makes the dye brighter,
Oh.
or so it says on the package.
I mean, I just take a little bit of dulse that supposedly has iodine, and it tastes pretty good. When I think of it, I eat it.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
And do you put it in your food or just?
Well, the dulse that I get is a smoked dulse, and it's actually really delicious. So when my husband and I think of it, we just eat it, a few pieces. It's actually really tasty.
And does it have enough iodine? I mean,
I don't know. I haven't. I mean, I guess I could get that tested. I don't worry about these things. You know what I mean?
If you don't have symptoms, don't bother. Like you said, like I get this test, but I'm fine. I haven't
get the test because everybody's telling me that I'm crazy for not eating overt fats, and so I get it just so that people will leave me alone because I'm fine.
AJ, does this dulse that you eat come in a little sheet, or
it just comes? It's from Maine Coast Sea Vegetables. You can actually get it at Whole Foods, but it's very, very expensive there. So I buy it online, and it's slightly crunchy. It's good. I can send you some if you like. I enjoy it. It's kind of salty and kind of smoky. So a nice comment from Elizabeth. Jane and Ann are so amazing, and their YouTube videos are such a wonderful help for me for becoming plant-based. I love watching them. Thank you, ladies, for making them. And people are asking the name of the channel. It's Jane's name, Jane Esselstyn, and I did put the link to the channel in the show notes.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, you got some fans here.
That was Jane's idea to start that.
My mom thought I invented YouTube. She said, Jane is making this YouTube. You didn't know what I was talking. She didn't know what I was talking about. Jane, what are we doing?
I just sat there pouting for the first time we did it.
It's such a funny first.
Jane made us redo it about 5 months later.
A year and a half later. Because I was like, Mommy, the first video we shot, you look like a grumpy kindergartner in the corner, just so mad. There's no one there. You're talking to no one, as you're just sitting there thinking that you're talking to somebody, hoping you're talking to somebody. And she was just grumpy grump.
Well, you guys are a real hoot. Hey, you're teaching the, is it called Chibo or Chibi? What, you're doing something, aren't you?
There's a, I don't know what to call it. A thing called a class, cooking classes that reached out to us when they were in their, what's it called? Research phase. They were piloting this, it's a branch of GE called GE Appliances. Nothing to do with appliances, but like they're more like a think tank, just trying to make inventions, trying to just do new things. They reached out to us. I guess they found us on YouTube or something. Then they look for engagement with cooking shows and stuff. So they asked us if we'd like to work with them at trying to launch this company called Cooking with Chibo. And Chibo just means food in Italian or something. And
well, what's so nice about it, AJ, unlike other things, is you get what you decide you're going to make. What? Rice and beans. So you have the rice and the beans, and you just start from scratch, and the people make it with you. It's in real time. So we do like 2 or 3 recipes because we're cooking real time. Like, hi everybody, let's open the can of beans, and then everyone goes open and they drain their beans and they shake the beans in the same. So we're all doing the same thing. So it's real time. And I mean, YouTube, everything's like mise en place and ready to go and cha cha cha. But like, for instance, you did making nori, sushi, rolling it, and done a lot. You've done a lot.
We have done a lot.
That's kind of cool if it's in real time, then you don't have to do any make-aheads.
Right. None. All you go to the grocery store and then just wait for class to start.
That's really cool.
I cleaned the kitchen up a little bit, but not hardly at all. People seem to respond okay to just sort of the clutter that is my kitchen. It's a hot.
Somebody's saying there's a sign behind Ann that says stop or something. I can't see it. Do you know what they're talking about?
Oh, it's my daughter.
Recycling. What is the thing you're about to throw away made of?
It says, no, don't stop. It says stop, not stop. Think what you're about to throw away. Is it plastic? Recycle it. Is it fruit or vegetable? Compost it. Is it cardboard, paper, or tissue? Use it for our fire because we heat with wood. So that's from our daughter. It's not.
Nice. I just want to thank Well, Weirdo in the Classroom for the super chat donation. Thank you so much. And people are asking, since you guys live next door to each other, do you like eat every meal together?
No, but we go to Jane's a lot.
And we go to your house a lot.
Not too much. My cooking stinks these days.
It does not. We all go.
Everything good is here.
No. You know why we come here a lot? Because we're doing this new book, and it's focuses women, and so we have like, a handful of just breakfast, a handful of lunch, handful of desserts, some sauces, and this.
No, we have 44 desserts.
You just ruined it. But we have 44 desserts.
That's incredible. That's a lot of desserts.
Definitely for women.
Well, speaking of women, somebody's asking if you're going to do your women's conference virtually.
Oh, that's such a nice question. I was just talking about that because we definitely want to have it again, but it looks like, and I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with vaccines and possibilities with COVID, but March does not look like we're going to be. I know. I was just waiting, and since it's virtual, it isn't like a hurry. Because in Cleveland in March, we had people flying in from or driving in from, Columbus or east of Cleveland and west of Cleveland, or from Canada or whatever. And they have to make reservations and they have to make travel plans and they schedule. But if it's virtual, we're not up against that deadline that we would have for people who are traveling. I mean, we had people from your neck of the woods. We had people from California coming in. But so I think in the next few weeks, I'll be making an announcement. But thanks for the nudge. Julie, whoever that was, I can't remember her name.
Great. Well, thank you. Dina says, what are your thoughts about salty foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, and olives?
Kimchi, sauerkraut,
fortunately,
and olives.
I don't like any of those.
Me neither.
But I don't like salty food because salt is gone from my diet and my taste is so changed that if I get a soup somewhere, I don't like it because it's too salty.
If it's got salt in it. It's funny how I did not realize this about salt, but when I was working with my mom on the Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease cookbook, and we were doing everything with like no salt beans and no salt added.
AJ, perfect.
And you really just zero. It was fine. It was fine. But then when I went back to working on another book with Rip, I was like, this is too salty. He's like, no, I don't even taste the salt. And I realized, oh my gosh, I have downgraded those those receptors. And I thought I don't even add salt. You saw how much salt we've used in the past 22 years is not even a thing. Anyway, but olives, fortunately, my mom, we never had olives growing up. I don't like them. I can't stand the smell of them or the taste of them. If it touches even an olive falls in my salad, I really need a new salad. It's just so gross to me. It's so salty and briny. But if you like
olives, a few olives are fine.
And kimchi's fine. Kimchi's fine. It's a great fermented stuff.
And there's just a lot of salt in
and some sauerkraut. The
sauerkraut has a lot.
Yeah, and we just actually posted a Reuben sandwich yesterday on our YouTube, and we used a sauerkraut that I think has just vinegar and salt, or
no, it's got salt.
Yeah, but there's something else in it.
What did you use for the corned beef part of your Reuben?
Tempeh.
Oh, nice. Have you tried that new vegan corned beef? I interviewed her on the show yesterday, Mrs. Goldfarb from the Unreal Deli.
We don't like fake meats, really.
It's
made out of vegetables, though. I mean, it looked pretty clean. The only reason I couldn't try it is it's got some soy.
It's an Impossible Burger. We don't want to.
You just be careful. Look at all those ingredients in that and see. But it's an interesting idea.
I like that Unreal Deli. That's a great name. And I'm glad she's doing that. I mean, thank you for all the climate and the earth and cows and animals that you're saving with all that. But yeah.
So Kay says, 8 years ago, I had cabbage, CABG, not the food cabbage. And I looked for idea of what to do differently and came across Preventing and Reverse Heart Disease. I've embraced this way of eating and my heart disease reversed. So thank you.
You did the good hard work then. Way to go.
Yeah. There was a question that came by about osteoporosis and I can't find it now. I guess maybe Dr. Essie once recommended a weighted vest. The person saying it's not helping. Do you guys have any tips on osteoporosis?
lots of greens.
Your bones
Like
really
stress.
respond to being stressed, and they don't get you don't want to lose things from the calcium from your bones. And what pulls that calcium out of your bones is a high protein diet. So please just steer clear of all that extra protein if you're still eating that stuff. But if you're not, keep stressing your bones, which means, the end of the bone, but to the tendon on the end of the bone has to stress it, has to strain it, and that will strengthen it.
Lift weights.
Or,
And
just use your body and use your body.
Absolutely. Hey, Anne, do you remember many years ago when you came to my, I think it was either the second or third conference I produced, Healthy Taste of LA, and Hans and Lily Deal were there, and Lily Deal wanted to be part of your demo. Do you remember that?
No. But what I remember is dinner at your house. And we had so much dinner that I remember I had to lie on the floor. So full.
Just saw a tall drink of water walk by. Does he want to say hello?
Oh, that's my husband.
That's Brian.
Oh, I'll say hello. I've never met him. Hi.
How's it going, AJ?
Good. Nice to meet you. Somebody said you made a Reuben sandwich.
Oh, it's his Reuben, Brian's Rockin' Reuben on Rye.
Yeah, the one that's on YouTube right now is my recipe. Well, not my recipe.
It
but,
totally is your recipe. It's his recipe.
And his what do you call it? Stuffing is frozen in my freezer for Thanksgiving.
I know. Well, yeah, he's the one who made it. But Brian grew up in Philly, and what was the market called again?
John's Village Market made these amazing hoagies, we call them, not subs. And that's where the inspiration came from.
John's Village Market hoagies.
Well, AJ, it's great to meet you. I hear so much.
Nice to meet you. So this is great. It's a cameo.
Every time we do an event, someone always tells us about Chef AJ said. So you are a force to be reckoned with.
Oh my God. I hope what I said was accurate then. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So Anne, the reason I asked that is I just had an opportunity to tell this story I did a live cooking class for Pastor John Jensen's church over the weekend virtually. And I don't know if you remember, but you were sitting in the front row with Essie and Hans and Lily, and you were the only ones with reserved seats. There were papers taped to your chair that said reserved for Dr. Esselstyn, reserved for Ann Esselstyn, reserved for Dr. Deal, reserved for Dr. Deal. And you were doing a demo. And Lily, for some reason, wanted to be on stage, even though she wasn't scheduled. And she showed how to open a pomegranate this was your time, your book time, because we couldn't fit her in. And she was wearing like a sweater, maybe it was a wool sweater. But what happened is the sign that was on the chair that said reserved for Dr. Esselstyn somehow got taped to her backside. And so when she walked on stage in front of, 500 people plus whoever was watching virtually, her bum had a piece of paper on it that said reserved for Dr. Deal on it. And I could not stop laughing, nor could anybody. I was wondering if you remembered that, because that was one of my favorite moments of the whole conference.
It's so funny.
Because she's a real proper lady too. She's not like me, and she's very, very proper, and it just was hilarious.
How did she find out what was on her back?
Well, we removed it, and even Dr. Deal was laughing. So that was just so hilarious. I said, "That's what you get for horning in on Anne's time." Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I had such nice dinners with you.
I know. I remember when you were laying on the floor. I also remember when you broke your hip. It was on Father's Day, 2008, I think it was. And both Rip and Essie were speaking at an event somewhere, and the paramedics came. You had slipped on a peach or something, and I don't know, you were maybe like 74 then, and they were asking you like all the medicines you were on, and you're like, I'm not on any medicine.
Well, no, I can remember being on the floor and seeing the ambulance going by and hearing Rip talking on the stage. It was sort of surreal.
And I remember you were in Tarzana Medical Center, and I remember visiting you in the hospital. And also what I remember is Essie was there, and you had a roommate, and the roommate was really demanding and kept saying, and Essie would get up and give her, and it was so cute. It was so sweet. That was great. Not that you broke your hip, but that he was so accommodating.
So many memories with you.
I know. It's just been too long well, I keep the memories here because I have this. And even when I'm not wearing it, I look at it often. So you guys are just like my favorite, like the first family, I always wish it could happen. There's a game show called The Family Feud. And there's another first family of plant-based that I love, the Campbells. I always thought, wouldn't it be great if it was like a Family Feud, Esselstyn versus Campbell's?
Yeah, maybe together.
Only you could pull that off.
I would be the host. I would think that would be just so amazing because your guys are the Esselstyns are very competitive for sure. But I just think that would be, if I could create another conference, that's what I would have, is both families, and I would host Family Feud. Yeah. Well, it has been so fun catching up with you guys. You guys are just at the top of my list, and love you dearly and miss you. And thank you for all the wonderful work you do. And everybody, please check out Jane and Ann's YouTube videos. They're hilarious. The recipes are great. And now it looks like we have another great book to look forward to.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.